It's the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes post-match phone-in on X or Twitter or whatever it's called these days.
Spaces, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship DNSYE, its continuing mission to explore strange new opinions, to seek out new Watford fans in new civilizations, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before.
Well, good evening, everybody. Yes, we're back. Spaces, the final frontier. You get the gag. It's not very good, but hey, neither are we. Well, let's hear what people think. WFC 2, Oxford United 1. Well, it's been a funny old week, and I have a feeling it might be about to get a bit funnier, but we will see, because he's got 7 points out of 9. However, we will see how everything goes on, because there's interesting things to come about, no doubt, because the rumor is, well, we'll get on to that, shall we? We'll get on to that. Here we go. Let's start with Rich. We like starting with Rich because Rich gets us off to a flying start. Lots to react to, lots to discuss, and there's a couple of rumors, and I've had things seconded, and well, Rich will know what I am talking about. But let's talk about the game as well. Rich, so hit your mic button when you are good and ready. And that was a fun game, wasn't it? I mean, that was. I don't think anybody can come away from that feeling shortchanged. What were your thoughts on the day and the game so far? And then we'll deal with the post match after.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Got you loud and clear, mate. Got you loud and clear.
Yeah. Well, strange old game, wasn't it? Really. I mean, a game that, crikey, if we'd have had probably the best players on the pitch from the beginning, we'd have probably got at full. I don't know what was going on. We had so many chances today. Vata, bless his heart, got into the positions, but had his square boots on and just couldn't seem to find the net, which was a bit frustrating. Comical goal to give away again, 3 minutes on the clock. And you just think to yourself, here we go again. You know, the team on paper looked a little bit better, but once again, you got Barr sitting on the bench, who gets 3 minutes at the end or whatever it is, and he obviously didn't want to come on. He's absolutely pissed off, and who can blame him? You know, he'd walk into any team in the Championship. 100% he walks into any team, or at least gets half a game of any. I mean, it's just an absolute joke. And hopefully that joke is over now. I thought there was some bright play. I thought Mendy in midfield kept going, and he won a lot of the dirty stuff that people don't always notice. I thought he was very industrialist. I thought Loser was imperious again. I thought some of his passing range was good. On the negative, Max Elaine had a bit of a mare for 30-odd minutes in the first half. Yeah. My goodness. But he recovered, and credit where due. Kevin, I can't quite work out. Sometimes I think he's world-class, using the word very loosely. And other times I look and think, my God, the guy can't run. And it's a tricky one. I don't quite know. I thought Abankwah was the pick of the defenders, central defenders. I mean, Ngakia should get the man of the match. A couple of lovely. He gets in there, and I thought he had a smashing game. You know, a great corner, and he got his head in for the make sure the ball went over the line. I think he'd already gone in personally, but anyway, don't matter. He made sure it went in. But yeah, I thought Abankwah was very good, and it still puzzles me why he hasn't been in the team regularly. I know I said it the other day. I know they think there's a mistake in him every now and again, but I think he's got enough to that it's the strength and the power when he brings the ball out. And the way we play, you've got to have defenders that bring the ball out to create the space for the others. If they just stand static and hit the ball from backwards from the more deeper positions, it just doesn't help us. So you've got to be able to come forward, and obviously they can get back as well. So yeah, an enjoyable game, a game that probably deserved more goals from us. I didn't like the substitutions were a nonsense. They set us back, and we tried to, and we did get away with, Oxford weren't no great shakes. Let's be brutally honest about it. And they didn't particularly come to try and win the game, in my opinion. They had a little few sparks, but they didn't exactly knock the door down at the end, but we gave them every opportunity to, which is, for them to pump balls in the box, which I thought was a bit mad. You have to look at the squad and you think, well, we're told by whoever we want to listen to that Mendy, the other Mendy, foremost Mendy, was our number one centre-back target of the summer, and they were absolutely ecstatic to get him. I think I've seen him play about 30 minutes. I don't know about anybody else, but I mean, what is that all about as well? So, there's a lot going on, and I suppose that moves us nicely to the what we've all pretty reliably heard this afternoon, that it's all over.
It certainly sounds, and as I say, as you probably get the idea, Rich and I do kind of cross-reference on a few things. And I've heard it from another source, and I've had it interestingly, for want of a better phrase, not denied by another, if that makes sense. But yes, it does sound like that Paulo Pezzolano, the reign will be, or has, or will be coming to an end, and that this was his last game. Something that obviously we've been talking about as the results and the performances over the last week, especially, have picked up. Especially the second half against Hull was almost the time period where it sort of seemed to get better. We've never had a consistent game. I think today was probably the most consistent kind of decent performance that we've had from him. And but it sounds like the decision has been made and was probably made before the start of these 3 games. I shouldn't wonder.
I believe that. That's why we've seen the performances we have over the last 7 days. I said it the other night. There was a football team out there on Wednesday night at Portsmouth, particularly the second half, that the leadership team, whoever they are, obviously you have to think that is Loser, Cisco, and a few senior players, are basically saying, right, we just do it. And then that's why, the manager in his, I'll pick my words very carefully, in his anger took a Rincunda off. Basically because he wasn't listening to him, because I don't think the players are listening to him. They got to the point where someone's got in their ear and said, just go out there and do what you can, we'll sort it. I had to see the irony. The only player that has gone public on social media this week saying that the players are behind the manager was Matty Pollock. And guess who was dropped? And guess who was dropped today? So if you want to be a conspiracy theorist, and I have my moments, that's a classic of somebody saying he don't play today at a higher up the level, because you don't want a player going publicly saying the players are all behind him and then sacking him, or already sacked him before. The source I've heard from is impeccable. If this is wrong, then perhaps I'll retire from Spaces and Twitter and the lot, because it's an impeccable source that told me, and and you've had it confirmed from other sources. So we know it's over. It couldn't continue anyway, and I think the players have pretty much confirmed it for us by their performances, because their heads were on their chests. They didn't look a football team. There was no energy in there. At least we saw sparks of that today. Yeah. And hopefully they'll be released from the now people will say, oh, Pezzolano, we've been hard on him and he's come in with an authority way of doing things, and but people forget that you're dealing with almost very young adults, majority of Watford's team. They don't need a sergeant major coming in and telling them that they are this, that, and the other. They've got something about them because they're professional footballers. They're good professional footballers, the ones we brought in. All they need, really, is an arm around the shoulder, told that they're good players, go out and express yourself and enjoy your football. That's all they should be being told at this time. Do a bit of training, obviously, tweak game plans, look at the opposition, what they do, get your formation right. But ultimately, lads, go out and win that game. Go and enjoy yourself. I think you're good players. I think you're better than the team we're playing today. Go and enjoy yourself. That is not, to me, what has been coming out of the dressing room today and the last few weeks. It's been a basically of, you will do as you're told. If not, you'll be banished. Now, the fact that he brought Barr on with 3 minutes to go, again, confirms everything that we've been hearing for the last month or so, that him and Barr have had a huge fallout. Now, don't get me wrong, Barr has got a little bit of an edge about him. I've heard it from other sources. So it's not just necessarily Barr being totally victimized. He's got, he's got an edge to him that maybe some don't like. But at the end of the day, when you have got a star player like Barr who would walk, I repeat myself, will walk in any championship team and quite a few premiership teams. And there was a big bid for him in the summer. I know people laughed at me, and I know what went on. What people want to say, there was a very big bid made for Barr. And Pozzo, to his credit, said he would keep our better players, and he rejected it. Yep. You don't then sit him on the bench for 89 minutes of most of the games that we've been playing against teams, with the greatest respect, aren't the strongest teams. We haven't played anybody yet, the real teams. Now, there's no disrespect to who we have played, but there's some big teams to come to be played yet. We've not played them. You look at Coventry at the moment, they've got an English manager, a manager that can walk into that dressing room, look any of his players in the eye and say, I've been there, done it, bought the T-shirt. I want you to go out and play. I've created a team around me that wants you boys to go out there. They're going out there. They're loving their football. They're scoring goals. I think they scored 27 goals already. Yeah. They're scoring goals for fun. They're enjoying their football because their manager is making it simple. He knows what it's all about. He's been there, and that is what Watford need. And I'm not necessarily saying it's got to be an English manager. It's got to be somebody that knows the Championship inside out, can get some young lads together with a few old heads and say, come on, lads, we can do this. Go out and enjoy it. Get Vicarage Road pumping, because the fans want to. We've had enough. I've got no appetite for seeing managers changed all the time. This guy's got to go because of what he's doing to our players. Not because I want it, but I just want to see passion in my team. I want us to see us have a go, because we've got some quality players now. Again, I don't want Pozzo as owner of my football club, but he is at the moment. And, we've got to give him a bit of credit. He's kept the players. He said he'd keep them. And if it got to January and things continued, the people like Losers and Bars ain't going to be want to be at Watford. Now, hopefully, they get what they want. They get somebody that will energise them and help them, and they'll want to see the season out. And who knows what can happen? The season's not over. There's a long way to go, thankfully. We've got plenty of time to recover and get up that table and stop worrying about the opposition and go and have a go.
Yeah, some identity. It certainly looks like, over the last, well, I came out and said I really enjoyed the Portsmouth second half, etc. I thought it was good fun.
Yeah.
And total chaos. And today was also, I thought, excellent Championship fare. And it does look like we have a potential identity to go to. There. But I have to come back to a couple of the points that were made previously on Wednesday, which were, we can't turn around and say every time it's good, it's the players, and every time it's bad, it's the manager. But if the truth is out, if the rumours are correct, then hopefully the divisiveness might kind of move on. I appreciate that there will be people going, this is your wish list, isn't it? And it's not really, but it's a question of saying, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. We've talked about the fact that some of us have looked at it and said, maybe we're sort of thinking as Gino Pozzo does, or trying to anticipate what Gino Pozzo will do. Has that become a self-fulfilling prophecy? Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows? But today we saw a decent team. We saw a spirited performance, and we saw, I think, a win that was worth the win. And I think that sort of football, had that come from whoever the manager is, I think we'd all be on board going, brilliant. Let's move on. I think it's a shame that we haven't seen that. And if, as the rumors come in, and whenever you're in the midst of this kind of rumor swirl, you have two choices. You decide either you're going to keep it to yourself or you are going to share it. I'm trying to make sure before we share anything that I corroborate it ideally 3 times. It has not been corroborated 3 times. It's been corroborated twice. And as I say, one person has said, you know, they haven't confirmed one way or t'other, but said I wouldn't be surprised. So you just go, all right, okay. So we're just sharing with you at this moment in time what the rumor is and what that might actually mean. But looking at the game, I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. The stats bear absolutely no comparison to anything we've seen this season. And had that come about in earlier games, if the decision has been made, and I'm you know, told it was made prior to the game, he's been informed, I imagine, for some time. But you know, attack shots 27, right? On target 10. We've sat here and said we've had 1 and no shots on target, not just under Pezzolano, but under previous seasons. If this is what the team are capable of in terms of attacking intent, and we only had 2 of the 3, because as you say, Bar wasn't there, then there's something to look forward to there if we can get a front-footed identity, isn't there?
100%. And I think this is the thing that I want to say was, for people out in the world here listening and thinking, oh, you've got rid of another manager, it's always the manager's fault. We didn't want to get rid of the manager. The manager has almost signed his own death warrant because of the team selections that he's been making over the last month or so have been utterly and incredibly baffling. He's made his own nest, really. It's been quite bizarre. I mean, the players that he's not been playing, I mean, there's some players haven't even had, I mean, you know, Mamadou Doumbouya, you know, he's not even in the squad. He's not even in the squad anymore. Pierre Duomo, you know, you telling me that Pierre Duomo over the last couple of weeks couldn't have had made an effort and linked the defence and had a go? I know you can't put them all in the squad, but these are guys that are at Watford that haven't been even given a chance. And again, I go back to the Bar. What manager that wants to make it work has Bar out of his team, or at least not playing 45, 50, 60 minutes of a game? It's bonkers. So when people say to you, oh, well, you got your wish, lost your manager, for once, I could certainly go on record, I had no appetite for changing a manager. Yeah. But this manager has made it easy for us, most people, to say, well, what have you done? You know, you've alienated the fans. You know, the fans, I mean, God, if Oxford had scored a second one today, again, it would have gone. It would have blown. You know, thankfully it didn't, because the players responded and got stuck in. But if ever there is a manager that has completely signed his own death warrant, this is the guy. It's quite incredible what he's been doing. And that, when anyone says to me, oh yeah, good old Watford got rid of another manager, I think the manager's talked himself out of a job, nothing else. Because come in here, we're not speaking the language, come in, do your best and say, look, I'm going to have a go, make friends with the players, put your arms around them, let them go out and express themselves and enjoy themselves. You know, keep a low profile with the fans to a point, but enough to just be noticed, and enjoy it. But no, he has to come out and be this absolute nonsense that he's been doing. And we saw it for ourselves in that little video that hit the internet last week or so, of what he's doing in the dressing room. And you just can't do it, Pete. And too many leaks came out of the dressing room to say, oh my goodness, they're not happy. And unfortunately, there's only one winner, because, okay, the players now are going to have to look at themselves and ask themselves, there's another manager probably gone. You know, we need to knuckle down and do it. But they need help from Pozzo, Duxbury, Barami, in getting somebody in that actually knows how to put a team together in the Championship and revitalise some young lads and give the experienced lads and bring them on and make us look a football team.
See how we go. We will see how we go. Thank you very much, as always, there. So, I mean, as I say, different people will take to this, and let's call it what it is at the moment. It is a rumor that is out there, but I'm sat there thinking, well, do I share this? Well, yeah, I'm going to share this with you, because if it comes out tomorrow, then we know, tonight you'd have a think about it, whatever. I'm going to come to Nick Cubbett in a minute, but first of all, going to the Big Lebowski. Brett, sir, you've probably been listening to a load of that. You might not have known any of it, but what did you think of the game today?
Bombshell. Sorry, that's a huge, because I built up this theory, right? I got swayed a bit that Pezzolano needed to go, because the football, we were frustrated watching that.
Yep.
But then I was trying to make sense. So, you know, I 20 years in music management, there's stuff going on behind the curtains. So my mind goes to, he knows stuff that we don't know. And I started looking and thinking, oh, he's trying to develop the squad. He knows who his best players are. He's developing the squad so that he can play anyone. So that if Bar gets injured, it doesn't matter. Example, right?
Yep.
But now you've just dropped that. And I'm like, wow, because I'm looking at today going, there you go. You see, he's developing his squad, even though, by the way, Loser he's just the engine room, isn't it? It's just like he's absolutely everywhere. We then saw Semedo not bringing the goods.
Yeah.
We see Ngakia is our number 9, you know, which is, by the way, you know, there was one of the other home games when Ngakia did a turn and nearly back-footed it into the net, and I thought, oh my God, Ngakia's up there. That's our number 9. It's like, okay, but we saw one-touch passing. We saw dynamism. We saw, and now basically on my theory, I was like, there you go. It's all starting to click. So when you do bring in the big guns, it's all working. But actually, what you and Rich are just saying is, no, they're starting to play because they can see him going, and they're celebrating.
I'm going to keep coming back to this because what we're doing is sharing with you what we have heard. Now,
when did you hear this? Before the game?
That's always a danger to do, because if you do that, people will always have the ability to come back and go, there you go, you were talking out your ear hole, what have you, blah blah blah.
I'll definitely do that.
If you, well, yeah, no, it's fair enough. I mean, I'm big and ugly enough to take it. You know, we've had this in the past. You know, I've spoken to people and been told, yeah, that player is signing, you can put an animation out, and it went awry. You know, that's the the lad who's now plying his trade at Norwich, Diallo. So yeah, that's as good as done, and it wasn't. So things can turn. So there's always a risk at that. But we've done this before, and frankly, if we hear it, this is about a community thing. This is all about saying, well, we know it. If we think it's safe, we'll let you know. It's not about trying to copy it out. So go on.
The point here then is that performance based on him going or him staying?
I think he's still there. He's still the one calling the shots. Seemingly, he was the one who decided to make a treble substitution in the middle, and so he's running the game. But I don't know if you noticed, but he was sat down for a lot longer. And again, like the whole game, the moment the game concluded, he walked straight off down the tunnel. In fairness, he came back out again to come and shake the hands of the opposition staff. So, fair play to him. That's classy.
The thing that I was thinking, Pete, is that so I was obviously on my old news, like previous to the last 10 minutes, was that he has been punishing someone like Barr, who's probably got a massive ego because he is good. So maybe he has been punishing him and showing we can win without you, like sending a message to people, and also not being likable. By the way, how many people listening to this, including me, have had managers they hate who are actually really good? They do get the best out, but everyone thinks they're see you next Tuesday. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe he's got a plan. By the way, he played till the age of 33. We know his history, right? He's done a lot in his life.
Right.
To then for lots of the opinions that we've been listening to over the last few weeks is he hasn't got a clue. And I'm sitting here as someone who has managed in the music industry. There are comparisons, which is lots of people in the public don't know what's going on behind the curtain.
Right.
And so I'm more compassionate to him, thinking he must know something, and then obviously today, by the way, everything I'm saying is irrelevant if his head's gone.
Of course.
But actually I'm thinking he's shown us that he's supporting the squad and he's punishing certain players. Look, then he plays Iran Kunda. Iran Kunda's like on it today. So even though he got subbed after 30 odd minutes. So I'm thinking like he has got a plan and it's going to come together. And I was thinking, I just loved it today. Let's forget PP for the second.
Yes, please.
It was bouncing. It was like after poor Elaine makes a mistake, young kid, but then he kicked on. We were playing the football that we've all wanted to see. The whole of these 9 games, and it was bouncing. Like my acid test is always how much singing is there in the Elton John, and people were up and clapping and singing, getting involved, and also Oxford being silent. Like, look, we were all over them. We were all over them.
Good.
And it was great to see. Unbelievable news if he is going, because. So, by the way, one last thing.
Well, make it quick, mate, because we've gone nowhere in a long time. Go on.
The attitude. That's me, Pete.
Sorry.
The attitude that we've had about this manager in less than 9 games is a poison that is placed by Pozzo, and he has deflected from himself.
That's a very good
with
point.
our poison to the. And I'm glad I made one. But look, this is messed up, isn't it? It's like mind control. It's messed up.
We'll see.
That we're in that realm. Look, long may it continue. We're now before we know it, we're pushing for playoffs.
Well. We will see. We will see. The question is going to be, obviously. Cheers, mate. The question is going to be, Nick. I'm just coming to you. Just you want to hit your mic button. Question is, if this rumor is confirmed, and at the moment it is not confirmed, so we are sharing with you a rumor. So we can't assume that it's done and it's dusted, because that's not where we are. We're sharing with you what we've been told. Is the fact that if we're then bringing somebody in, has it got to be a kind of a Cisco on the back of a, kind of an Ivic style thing? Have we got to do something that will get this squad of players to do what we did in the last promotion tour and just, make it a feel good factor and get them to play? Because if that was how they played today under more of their own volition than the managers, then maybe that's the case. I don't know. Nick, sir, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Very well. How are you? I'm
very well, thank you. Lovely to speak to you. Sorry to throw this bombshell in at the start, but it felt like one that with 2 wins and a draw in the week, and obviously all sorts of contention going on, we thought we should really share, because the words Jekyll and Hyde performances have gone on, and it possibly goes some way to explain that. What did you make of the things today and this season so far?
The season so far has been very up and down. Like it's a very Watford thing.
Yes.
It's terrible 1 minute, and then it's great, and then it's terrible, and then it's the end of the world, and then we're getting promoted. It's sometimes I can't deal with it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it is a lot to process.
Yeah, the one person I would say today that I was most impressed with is Max Elaine. He made a mistake. He's a young kid. He made a mistake, scored an own goal, and I could hear it behind me. People were rinsing him, and I'm just like, he's getting himself back into the game. Yeah, he made a few mistakes, but he picked himself up, and then for 60 minutes, he was again probably one of our best defenders.
I think he was. There was that foul that he took right at the end, which kind of punctured the momentum that Oxford were trying to create, and he took a right whack and just kind of kept it, and then walked out. I think it does come to something that Pezzolano has said, which is about the players have shown character, but then the next sentence was because they've had to, because we've gone a goal down. But I agree. If you have a player who has that unfortunate start to the game and then he plays his way back in, I personally thought he was very good at Portsmouth, and he played a big part in that second goal. He played that ball up, which I think it was the lad Jeremy Petrus who won the header, and then it went on. And it was a really good quality ball out of the defence under a bit of pressure. And I thought today he kind of stepped up and looked good. But I was surprised how much. I was surprised at the selection in the midfield. Now, tell me if I'm wrong here, because in that first half, we had I believe Imran is 5'8" or 5'9". I think 5'9". I do him a disservice, and and little Mendy is 5'6". So we had 5'7.5" on average in the midfield, and yet they were winning, you know, kind of a reasonable share of ball, and getting the ball forward quickly. Was that a sort of a pattern of play and a style of play that you enjoyed today?
Yeah, to be fair, the midfield, I can't fault the midfield today. They kept the ball moving. It could have been a bit quicker, but I think that's always with Watford. It could always just be that little bit quicker.
Yeah.
But thank God we've got him. Thank God Gino, the compulsive liar, finally stuck to something that he said and didn't sell him, because without him, we probably would be in a Sheffield United situation. Him, and I know Sissoko gets a load of crap from everybody.
Me included,
the best football. He isn't the best footballer in the world, but I can say with some sort of certainty that he will be doing something in that dressing room, or he has been doing something in that dressing room. Same with Loser, because as everyone's seen, and I hope that person who put that video out gets the sack as well, because he's an idiot, or he or she's an idiot.
Well, who knows? I mean, it was an interesting thing to release. Let's say that way. Yeah, I mean, it was an odd one. But again, if the decision was made by then, and of course we wouldn't have known that then, and we don't know for certain until tomorrow. Well, I say tomorrow. You presume that when we make a change in the international break, they give the new incumbent kind of time to come in and do it. That's been the modus operandi up until now. If that continues, that would be what I would expect to see. Who knows? But it's been an interesting one. It was another shape that we had today, a 3-4-3. So we had another combination of players, but we had more attacking players on the pitch with that shape than we've had with the 3-5-2. I thought we looked sort of light and a lack of height in the middle, but the industriousness in the middle kind of worked really well there. But if it's been led off the pitch, on the pitch by those around it, with everybody will have, I'm sure, but I will mention it for anybody who might not have done. There was a rumor that came out that the captain of a club had gone to the head of of a championship club and said that the players were not in favor of the management, and this was earlier on in the week. I think it was Monday, Tuesday time, perhaps. Yeah. And of course, everybody thought, well, that's Watford. Well, I say everybody. Every lower championship team thought it was themselves. Southampton were going, well, it must be about Will Still. We're thinking it's about us. Who knows what that is? We don't know for sure, but we will see. We will see over the next few days if this does indeed come to fruition, as it sounds like. And I wouldn't have shared with you had I not believed that this was the case. And if I'm wrong, I stand up and I go, yep, I got it wrong. I've gone too soon, etc. But whatever the situation, he's come in, he's played, he's played as he has. It has been a contentious ride, but in fairness, do we look at him in the same way as we look at Rob Edwards and go, well, maybe it was coming together at the end? My thoughts are that these last three games prohibit that, because I'm sure the decision was made after the 2 1-0 defeats and the performances that went with the 2 1-0 defeats. And I suggest possibly, if it is true and if it was us and if it's not apocryphal, if the managers did go and say we're not entirely convinced, if that was then proceeding, then it feels like the right thing. But the question is going to be, what kind of character are we going to need to come in and take over from both Pezzolano and in your eyes, obviously Loser and Sissoko in the dressing room? What kind of manager do we need to take it forward?
We need someone who is good with youngsters, because we have got so many of them. We need an English manager, someone. Well, actually, no, it doesn't need to be English. Someone who knows the league. Someone do exactly what he said in the summer. Get a proven manager to take over from Tom Cleverley, because that's what we need. As much as I'd love for Tom Cleverley to come back, that ain't never going to happen. We need someone who's done it before. The Championship, that's where he's been for his managerial career. We need someone who knows this league, because it is the weirdest league in the world. And as we said with Pezzolano, yeah, he can go and get promotion in Spain and wherever the hell else he got promotion. But English football is English football. It's totally different.
Brazil and Uruguay was where he got, and he performed well in Mexico as well. I don't think there's any argument about the man's credentials. I think what we are possibly looking at is the uniqueness of the championship. And when Gino turns around and says we need experience, the first thing that a lot of people said was but there's no experience of the championship of this style of football. And I think the fact that yet another pattern of system of play today, where I thought the balance was good. Personally, I really did. I thought we had balance right and left. We got the wing backs going forward. Who knew Jeremy Ngakia was a goal machine? But there we go. And I think you saw in that we'd seen with Semedo, and we'd mentioned it previously, that he looked like he'd gone kind of floundered and then gone up a gear in terms of understanding a little bit about the championship. And I thought when we saw Kieran go come on, I thought he looked like he'd also kind of reacted.
He had something to prove.
Exactly.
That's all that is. He had something to prove.
Exactly. There we go.
And he played really well, to be fair.
Yeah. I thought it was good all round. Nick, thank you ever so much. Lots of people wanting to get on and just quickly have a chat. So let's get across to Uncle Ron, who's been doing some spectacular AI tweets in terms of the pictorial stuff. Let's get it back across to him, because I had added him in, but he's fallen out. I'll try and get him back in again. And see, because I think he was kind of turning in favour of Pezzolano, so I don't think he'll be particularly pleased about this potential news. Ron, sir, how are you doing? Uncle Ron, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
There you are. There you are. I was just commenting on some of your most excellent tweets. I especially enjoyed it'll be known as you going through your grey joggers period, I think, in terms of some of the work you've done, but it's caused titters in the Remnant household, so well done, sir. What do you think of today, and what do you think about this potential news?
I think, I'm not going to say I think. You are correct with your information.
Right.
You are correct. And I've been thinking a lot about this week, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very bad. And I feel sorry for Pezzolano. And I think we were all too harsh, myself included, on him. I don't think the club have helped him in any way whatsoever with their media coverage. I think they could have presented him in a far more sympathetic manner. And it's not his fault that he doesn't speak English, and it's not his fault that he looks the way he does. And I feel very bad about how I've judged him, and I think other Watford fans should too.
What do you mean by looks the way he does?
Well, I think in terms of the tracksuit, the not being shaven, that sort of thing.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
Yes. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I think he's been judged unfairly against Tom Cleverley, who looked as a very, a good-looking man, and people said, well, there's such a connection with Tom Cleverley. And again, I've been thinking about it. Tom Cleverley didn't go to any of our homes for afternoon tea, did he? And neither did Pezzolano, and no Watford manager will.
Well, I don't know. Roy Hodgson, if anybody would go for somewhere for afternoon tea, it'd be him. Sorry, that's a flippant, glib remark.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, go on, carry on.
But maybe in future, all of us shouldn't judge someone, the manager, in terms of likability and whether they have a connection or not to us, because we don't really see what goes on, do we? And I don't know. I just, on a personal level, I feel a bit sorry for him now, because I've been thinking about it. Do you remember Brendan Rodgers when he first came to Watford?
Yes, I do.
And he brought in this style of play, and it was very similar to Pezzolano's, wasn't it? It was so slow. It was the most boring football you've ever seen. And then over a period of 7, 8, 9 games, it became some of the greatest football we've seen. And I'd include Rodgers and Marco Silva in that, in terms of football that was pleasurable to watch. So maybe, I don't know. I mean, I hope the replacement is a good one and that we go on to win promotion. But I just feel a little bit bad today.
Well, no, I don't think anybody would want to take delight in anything like that, for crying out loud. I agree. And And yeah, I mean, was the connection overly played? I don't think anybody's sitting there thinking the connection and Tom Cleverley is as he had to apologise for being Tom Cleverley. Well, there's been things put out in the Watford Observer about the fact that yeah, he knows that he's taken over and he was dealing with that. But to be honest with you, I look at stuff in this last week and go, well, that was all after the Lord Mayor's show, really, because I don't think the decision was made kind of yesterday or this morning. I would suggest that the die was cast probably before Hull. I would be surprised if it were not, because it's going to take a little while for them to, even if the manager is out of work, which is again the Pozzo model. Typically they're not trying to go and pay to bring somebody out from an existing club. They will normally go for somebody who is available. I mean, obviously, a lot of names, the name, I should say, Danny Roll has been used a number of times, having done pretty much wonders at Sheffield Wednesday, and we can all see how difficult that is, especially today. So we will see. I mentioned the fact that after having Ivic in, and he was a sort of and I appreciate your points about his appearance and the language point, absolutely, but he came across as somewhat dour and therefore a little Ivic-like. I appreciate I'm doing a bit of kind of cross contamination here to get to this pained kind of metaphor. Do we need an equivalent of Xavi? Do we need something to lift everybody and get the players to go and play like we saw today, with energy and verve and attacking intent?
I think there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance between the two. And again, going back to Cleverley,
yeah.
Let's not forget that he was picking the same players every week. His comments with Bachmann, not going to go back, I'm not going to harp on about it, but it was if he's fit, he plays. And Bio, remember? Bio was picked every week. There was not much competition. So I want someone who's not going to have his favourites. And there's proper competition for places, which there is now. But there's got to be a balance. But I don't know, Peter. I don't know. I think we were all a bit harsh, and the chants from the fans of you're getting sacked in the morning. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think perhaps we need to reflect on that a little bit as people.
Nice. Well, if we can't learn from these things, then you don't improve at any point, do you? Which is there. Well, look, that's nice to hear you reflective and looking at it, and it's been interesting, because if you followed Ron's pieces this week, a lot of people have said, yeah, that seems incredibly reasonable, kind of how you're putting things across. Justin, sir, you're now in as well, and you're co-hosting as well.
Yes.
What were your thoughts as and then we're going to come to Wendover, then we're going to be coming to Neil Silverstein, so do bear with us, gents. What are your thoughts on everything today?
Well, I thought it was quite an entertaining game. I rather enjoyed it. And to sort of come back and hear that these rumours are strong and perhaps it's going to be acted upon, wouldn't have been a surprise this time last week, but today you think, hang on, 7 points out of 9 games? I mean, I don't know. It's baffling, Peter. It's Watford.
Well, we'll as I've said already, and sorry, Justin didn't know because I haven't had a chance to see him before. And this all came to me basically ahead of the game and then during the game. So and then me checking out a few things afterwards. So we will see for certain whether or not it is indeed for certain. But as it stands, we sit where we sit. We expect I imagine, to hear something shortly. I don't know if we will hear that today or tomorrow, or if there'll be a backtracking, based on the events. I don't know. So I could end up looking like the biggest piece of cheese known to man. But I thought I'll let you know what I've heard. But other people have clearly heard, as Ron had there. Let's get across to Greg, Mr. Wendover Horn, sir. Big day, good win, but feels like things are moving at the camp.
Good evening, Peter.
Good evening, sir.
I had a conversation as well with somebody. I won't say who.
Okay.
I think, didn't say outright, but I think you'll be doing an emergency space probably tomorrow or on Monday. Look, I don't know what I think, like I did in the week. The guy's got 7 out of 9. But has he got 7 out of 9? Have we got 7 out of 9 because of Pezzo or in spite of Pezzo? And I think Rich may have touched on it. What's happened, the players have just taken it upon themselves. I think Rich might be spot on there. I don't know what I think. I think whatever we're going to be laughed at again in the media, but let them laugh at us because I don't care. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. I'm not saying Pezzo in or Pezzo out. But I wouldn't be surprised. Today, I thought I enjoyed today. It was a good game of football. Good game of football today.
Very much so.
But there is a but.
Okay.
I think we were all over them in the second half. We were having a shot every few moments. And then he changes it. I thought he went too defensive too early. With the changes that he made, bringing KMB on, bringing Sissoko on, and the change he made at fullback wasn't negative, but I thought that was negative, and it invited Oxford on us. GT always said the great man, the best form of defence is attack, and personally, I would have stayed on the front foot longer, but it is what it is. And we've got 3 points. I wonder if in Max Alain's contract it is outlined that he has to play because he is the only one that hasn't been rotated of those centre backs. And I thought he looked tired today.
You're not the first person to suggest that there is such a clause in place, and it can get done by Premier League teams because of people like, for example, James Garner, who's obviously now doing very well in the Premiership. Thank you, with Everton when he came to us from Man United, and I think it was Ivic who didn't play him very much, and then Cisco didn't play him at all if he hadn't already gone back by that time. I can't remember now, because they want to say, well, look, if you're going to take our better talent, we need to make sure that our better talent is getting stretched. It is getting kind of a game time, and it is developing and moving on. So I mean, it may well be. No, I can't.
You can't blame him. He's one of the up and coming talents picked by the England under-21s this week.
Yeah,
and they want him playing men's football, and that's why he's with us.
Very true.
He looked tired to me. He looked tired. He did improve, and he got over his mistake, and no problem there. I'm mystified why Mendy isn't even in the squad, our number one target and a current starter for the Senegalese team. I find that a bit odd. Maybe he isn't quite match fit, quite ready. I don't know. Question.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we've won. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it. I think we could have put them to bed a lot earlier than we did, and we didn't need to have those few nervous minutes at the end. But up to 10th, and I'm on the fence with Paulo Pezzolano. I'm totally on the fence. I wouldn't be surprised. And look, I would probably do it. I would probably go with where we think Gino is going, because I think there's a lot more in this squad than he was getting out of them. And I tend to agree with Rich that it's the players that are improving our performances, because they're saying that they're taking it upon themselves. Well, that's me done. That's me done, really, Pete.
Well,
I really wanted to centre on the negativity of the substitutions. I thought we should have stayed on that front foot. And gone 3-4-1.
I am just going to share some on FOTMob, which is a football statistic, talking about the momentum of this game. And literally from about the 65th minute mark, something along those lines. Let's have a look. Yeah, 63 minutes. You've got this momentum piece where the upper part is where we're in charge and we have the lion's share, but we surrendered the momentum with that sort of triple substitution and sitting back and taking it. However, the points will be made, and this is like everything else we do. This is other opinions are available. The people will say he justified it because we kind of packed it out, played defensively, and won. Kind of kept a clean sheet. But as we all know, you can let in a goal and it can go away from you very, very quickly indeed. The thing that I thought was really interesting was the shots on target, as I mentioned earlier on, and how everything was played out. It seemed a really kind of thoroughly impressive performance. Semedo was given 6.6, and Luca Kieran was given 7.1. And I think, when you look at the eye test, that'll sort of probably I think most people would eke that out. But it was Loser and Mendy did really well, I thought, for a short, diminutive midfield, covering the ground against Keersmacher and Brannigan, who have both been pretty impressive this season, individually and as a pair in the middle there. I thought they did pretty damn well. And Kevin, the player I was most pleased for was Abankwah, because my understanding had been that Abankwah wasn't really quite, Paulo's cup of tea, and he's played out from the left and done really well. When I've seen things before, can have a little rick, because if you bring the ball out and you give the ball away, as Hector Cipriano, crikey, that was a moment. Went back there. He's had sort of issues with those sort of things on occasion. So, it's a difficult one to really call.
Yeah.
So there you go indeed.
Pete, I'm a big Abankwah fan, and I thought he was excellent today. Excellent. I thought Kirungard was also very, very good when he came on. He's developing his game. He's going to be a very, very good player.
Fingers crossed.
I see all the ingredients there in him that suggest to me that we've got one there. Certainly, we've got one there. Tell you a player I did like on that. I thought they were poor, Peter. I don't think you're going to play many championship side poorer than them. I like their 23, Zigri Dembele.
He was the one who scored the goal against us when we were up there. Liked him a lot.
Yeah. Liked him a lot. And I thought Irakunda wanted to come off a lot earlier than he did. He looked spent to me a good 10 minutes before he came off. And I think he was even looking at the bench to say, it's time to switch me. And whether that is our man being stubborn and leaving Bar there longer than he needed to be to just give him 5 minutes is another question of mine. Pete, have a good evening, mate.
Well, thank you very much indeed, sir, and you too. There's just one thing I will say, and I'll let Greg go here. But back at the start of August, and this isn't a we told you so, this isn't at all, but this is about the sharing in this forum of rumours, i.e. something you have heard. And what he came on, and again with Rich WFC2, who we spoke about at the start, was the fact that Jack Fadadza, who we all like and who we all want to have back, was injured and that they didn't know where he was and he could be out for months. And then it came out via the club, right, here he is, a statement that he was going to be back in September. Well, welcome to October, guys. Here we are. So look, sometimes these will play out and people will go, oh, I don't believe you. I don't like it. I get it, guys. If you don't want to believe it, don't believe it. And hopefully I'll be wrong. And then, we can all follow Paulo to promotion. However, there are times when just sit and watch and see what plays out, because on that particular instance, Greg got a lot of stick, which was unnecessary. We were the ones who shared it, so we're the ones who kind of foisted it in a way upon him. Just wait and see what we hear, what happens. We'll take it from there. In the meantime, let's get across to the South Coast to Mr. Neil Silverstein. Neil, sir, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm pretty pissed off, really.
Go on in.
Well, you just pissed on my chips. I was going to make the point about.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. You by the South Coast, you can get more chips. Chips are readily available on the South Coast, I'm sure.
No, not with the bastard seagulls that are around at the moment, but that's another story. No, a fair point. A couple of things. So, first of all, Ron, great that you're reflecting on PP and your stance on him. I'm a little bit disappointed that you didn't apply the same logic to Mr. Ngakia, who I thought was outstanding. Not just today, he's really come on. So I just asked to be a bit consistent with your reflection, might help. So that was one. Picking up on what's going on, and I too, from about 11 o'clock this morning, had somebody message me that's fairly well connected at the club, giving me the same sort of rumours, I guess.
Right.
So I don't know if we've all got the same people that talk to, or whether they're different, but it's widely spoken of. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think Greg's timeline is probably about right.
Yeah.
Couple of things, interesting things for me that haven't been made already, because others have said some of the points I was going to say.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone noticed when I think it was Irukunda came off, Loser was already subbed by then, wasn't he? And he was standing on the sideline. Yeah. And Loser went forwards and patted him on the back, turned around and walked with him back to the bench.
Yeah, he was.
Now, yeah, so that I think is quite telling. I always say that, players influence the game far more without the ball than they do with the ball. And that's an example of it. But also when, and again, sorry, when he scored midweek, I don't know if anyone noticed, but Loser pumped his fist on his chest and then turned round to the bench and sort of like threw a punch aimed at the bench. I just thought that was a really interesting reaction at a time when logic goes out the window and emotion overrides it. So I do think that's the nucleus of the senior players getting hold of the dressing room. So, we all hear these things, but I've seen, I believe, signs from and around the bench that is actually what's going on. Okay.
In which case, what we need to ensure from those senior players is that, whoever is then going to subsequently come in, or if he was going to continue, that influence still stays as a positive and a positive driving force to go on and achieve something this season. Now, whether or not that's promotion or not, but obviously we know what Gino wants, but I think all we want is more days like today.
Absolutely, and this is where I'll go back to a point that Holly made, I think, a couple of weeks back, which I think we all agree, and then we're all aware of, right? And this is, I've used the word before, the conundrum that we find ourselves in at the club.
Yeah.
So we have a manager in place. We believe, or fairly well sure, that the management, i.e. Gino, Nanny, maybe even Duxbury back in the time, are influencing the selection of the team.
Yep.
Yeah. So you've got one there. You've then got a manager that, we're blaming the manager for the weird selections. So is it really the manager or is it Gino? And then you've got the player power coming in. So whichever way it is, those three communities, or, the management team being one, the board and the players, if they're not consistent in their direction and they're not playing or not performing as a unified entity, you're always going to have it, the club pulling itself apart from within, because they've got three different directions. And the great thing about football is it's a game of opinions, right?
Absolutely.
And you've now got three different, if you like, forces pulling in different directions. So, and I'll go back to it. I kind of feel sorry for PP, but I don't, because any manager that's going to apply or be approached to work at Watford, if you do not know what you're letting yourself in for, then fuck me, what planet have you been living on, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of you do your due diligence. These guys build careers, they build CVs, and they look at where they go and where they don't go. And it's a conscious decision to accept the offer, right?
Agreed.
And you know what you're letting yourself in for. You know that you're letting yourself in for a madhouse. Anybody worth their salt that's going to do the next job, do their bit of due diligence. What would you do? You'd look at what's been going on the last couple of weeks, right? So I do think that, I don't know whether it's PP's fault. I don't know whether it's the players. I don't know whether it's Gino's. But the combination of the three clearly is fragmented.
Yeah.
And that's never going to be, in my experience, that's never going to be conducive to put a team on the pitch on a Saturday or a Wednesday evening that plays as a cohesive unit. You look in the Premier League, right? And my logic's flawed on today's results, but you've got a team like Sunderland that are up in the Premier League. No real superstars, but they play for each other. Yeah.
Yep.
You get the performance and then you get the results. Whereas you look at other clubs that have just got a load of, mercenaries, Christ, I'm talking about Watford there, you just don't get a team performance. You get sporadic individual moments of excellence that win games, or you get mistakes that cost games. And that's kind of where we're at. So, yeah, I do believe that things will change in the next 48 hours. But I think it's just going to be the names that change, because the other bits will they'll just go through that natural cycle that we've seen now for about 8 years. And it will get a little bit of a bounce, but then it will go back to the way it was. But the other person that I wanted to kind of call up, I think Vata has been really influential from his controversial introduction against Portsmouth to when he was withdrawn today, because I think the momentum shift kind of links back to Vata going off, because he kind of is the closest thing to Chak that we've got. So he carries the ball, he gets us forward, and he puts us in the opposition half. But no, other than that, it's again, we've won 2-1, really entertaining game, but I just feel empty at it, and that's a real shame.
Well, we've spoken to many people about a disconnect with the club. That's not been this season. That's been over a number of seasons. But this season, obviously after Tom's connection, and obviously that didn't apply to everybody, etc. Whatever happens, obviously, all everybody wants to hope for is the best for the club in terms of sustainability. Yes, in terms of results, but obviously in terms of performances and trying to I appreciate values of football clubs is something that might be contentious and argued about, but you hope that the club are going to be moving in a good and positive way. Obviously, the supporters board thing, which is now going to hopefully get started. Hopefully that can be something that works favorably. Neil, sir, thank you ever so much as ever for coming on. A great point that potentially we might see one person in terms of our head coach going, but he's not the only one. He is part of the solution. And I mean, when I say solution, the whole kind of the milking pot that goes into the suggestions, because yes, we do know that there is a technical department who will put stuff in. We know for sure, I must have the owner and the management of the club, we'll take a look at it. It's not just typically something that is simply left to the head coach. Go and do whatever you want. Modern day football, that doesn't really happen very often either way. So we will see. Right. Thank you ever so much. And I'm sorry if that's news that potentially, and it could potentially upset a few people tonight, because, you want the club to go in the direction that you want. We're just sharing with you what we've heard. It sounds as though it seems to be being backed up, so we will wait and see. But let's get onto the 5-word reviews, and let's celebrate a win, because it was a win. It was something that sort of came a bit defensive at the end, but it was resolute. It was a staunch defensive kind of last 25 minutes, I suppose. And there were some good bits, and I think agree with what Nick said earlier on about young Max Lane. Put his everything on the board. Let's get to 5-word review, shall we? Silgerman says treble 2. 2-2-2. Number 2 scored 2 goals in 2 minutes. Oh yeah, nice. I like that. Ryan Cripps says 7 points in a week. Still feel Paulo will be dismissed, no doubt. Yeah. I personally want Daishi, but it won't happen. Onto the Blades away after the boring international break. Come on, New Orleans. We'll see. United again lost at Hull today. So they're not having the greatest of times, but obviously we're going up against Mr. Chris Wilder, who we know very well. Alan Ray says, I want the corner flag. Glory Hornet 15. I nearly said it, Brian. Said sexy football is back again. Dr. Dickie Sutton said impressive display of attacking football. Great game. Some shocking finishing, says Mark 74. Pete Willis Jones says manager of the month, eh? Yeah. We'll see. Paul Fiander Turner says the players really wanted that. 3 points off the playoff, says Gaz, along with 5 other teams. He says we are top of the mid-table. That's a way to look at it. Top of the mid-table. I like that very much. Coming from behind for Nah, says Glory Hornet 15. I would say you're better than that, Brian, but let's face it, we both know that neither of us are better than that. That's absolutely our level. Well done, sir. Have a biscuit. Jason Brewer says Jez has reincarnated as Roberto Carlos. Who knew? A game of 2 halves, says Nicholas Smith. I did actually turn to somebody and say, Jeremy Ngaki is on a hat trick. That's not a sentence I ever expected to say. But I mean, I did love the bit in the last 2 or 3 minutes where we got the corner and the whole of the Rookery end screaming shoot to Jeremy and Gakia from a corner. Very good work, people. Very good work indeed. Alan WFC. Are we wrong about Pezzolano? Well, if the rumours are wrong, then yeah, and for his sake, who knows? Tommy asks, where are everybody? Fine. Glory Hornet 15 but comes back again, says Saturday night's going to be all right. Uncle Ron, we said earlier on, he said we should apologise to Pezzolano. I think there's a lot of managers, and in fairness, there's a number of players that I don't think the club has treated as it possibly should have done at the time, and that goes over a long time period, and it may not be at all important for you. I'm just talking myself there in that particular one. Feed the Gack and he will score, he says. M, hiya M, saw M today. She says winner but Paulo to go. Dan Harvey says goodbye Scruffbag, won't be missed. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Dan. Dan's head of sympathy, by the way, for DNSYE now. Well done, good for some. PE teacher isn't that bad, says Brian. Before we see what's happened. Should have been 6-0, says Pete Joylis Jones. Pete Ryan says quality Gack gets Hornets buzzing. Willie Eckers like, hello Ken, 3 points. Well, still not convinced, he said. Glory Hornet 15, back to Brian. He's saying a lot here. He said absolutely fabulous game of football. I enjoyed it a lot. Oxford keeper kept the score down, he said. David Sweet, having driven home now and reflected, I say give PP a go. Could have been 4 or 5 today. I'm now thinking he can't be any worse than any possible replacement. Oh, Dave. Boy, will you've not reacted well to the news not the news, the rumours. Gallen says still not convincing. Ryan said still need him to go. Martin Pickard, Jeremy knows how to score. That's the point. People have said Jeremy for number 9. Who knows? Need to be more clinical, says MJ Newcastle Hornet. Big Galoot says stop shooting, rugby conversions, practice. 27 shots. And yeah, a lot of them were high, wide, and not necessarily handsome, but a lot were on target in comparison to previous games. And I think let's accentuate the positive there. Biscuits, ankles, wins it. Crumbs, says Big Galoot. Graham says it's all taking shape. Kerno Hornet says let them score, then pounce. I did make the point, the fact that we don't ever seem to play until the opposition go ahead. Therefore, it was tactical genius to go behind after 2 minutes and therefore have 88 minutes to try and pull the game back. Who knew? Met Pete today, nice guy. Oh yes, Thomas J. Designer. Well, I met Tom Bennett and was very, very pleased and proud to present him with a unique one of these Do Not Scratch Your Eyes badge, which is his own design. Now, Thomas does the 1881 banners and the riders and all of the stuff that goes in there. And when I saw Mr. Deaney last week, I just said, could you just sign one of these? So he's got that, and Tom's was good enough to allow us to use that, because of course that's the name of the podcast. Now look forward to that being available on tea towels and t-shirts and everything. You can name it now. Now that we've been nice to Thomas, we'll now look to rip the arse out of the entire idea. Let them score. Blah, blah, blah. Jeremy Jarzinho keeps us afloat, said Vince Smith. Alex Mitchell says ugliest brace of all time. Andrew D says unconvincing but still a win. Phil Covey said made hard work of that. I don't disagree with that. Luke Powney says, how is Barr not playing? And I think part of that is probably the idea. If you think for a moment, if you are Gino Pozzo, and I appreciate this is through the looking glass here, people, for everybody. We've got a number of players, and we know because we bought a number of number 10s, if you will, or tricky wingery type people. I don't need to tell you who they are, and he will probably want as many of those as possible, accruing in value in order to sell them on the market and then go and get the next lot, but also to try to take us up on a wave of positivity. Who knows? Maybe today was the right balance of, for once, owner, technical directors, players being on board. Maybe that was a difference. This week. Now, we can say what we want about player power, but I'd rather have them playing for us rather than, previously it didn't seem that was the case. Statement performance from K9, says SG91 WFC. I agree. I thought he was good. Kurt says we are so back. Dave Sweets back. He said, reading some posts on here saying he should still go. It's confirmed to me that some Watford fans are becoming the most entitled fans in football. Such a shame. Give the guy a chance. He has convinced me that there could be something there to develop. There you go. That's where we heard from Dave. So sorry about Dave. The news we've given you, or the the news of rumours may not be to your pleasing. We want to see this game sort of, we want to see this kind of game repeated in terms of the style and the. I think it was fairly swashbuckling. I think I can use the word swashbuckling without being shot down. Oxford aren't a good side, said SG91 WFC. You're not wrong. PP, never doubted him, said Dave. Well, glad to know it. What's happened to Selvik? Asked SG91 WFC. He absolutely has to play through and bring back some of his level of confidence, because he does look a little bit, cat on a hot tin roof at the moment, and that's why I was not surprised isn't the right word. I raised an eyebrow when Baxter, having come in and done well, was then kind of not available, or rather he wasn't able to keep the shirt. Would it have made a difference? Who knows? But I like Selvik. I like him a lot. Gino sacks Paulo after win, says SG91 WFC. Right, let's get to the 5 words for everybody as I link about. You may have seen, by the way, we were doing some 5-word, not some 5-word. We were doing some reels Justin and Carl were getting about. You may have seen yesterday's one, which we released from the whole game, which was which movie star would you like to see playing which character in Watford FC the movie? That'd be a question. Who would play Paulo Pezzolano in Watford FC the movie? Probably Rob Edwards, actually, because I'm still convinced they're related in some way. Linda says, where's the YouTube stream? Had to reinstall this shitty app. She said, I do apologize. Yes, it doesn't seem to be going to YouTube. We'll have a look at that afterwards, and we will add the recording of it to YouTube anyway, because we're doing this multi-platform nonsense type thing. Dr. Dickie Sutton says, I do hope the rumours are not true. Compare the second halves against Hull and Pompey and today's excellent attacking performance with the shambles against Norwich and Charlton earlier in the season. Are we not making progress? Are we not entertained? He says. He doesn't say that. I said that bit because I just had a moment where I became Russell Crowe. B Sting says, I like that. B Sting is good, Gary. This is Gary, who is, along with Brian, trying to win some kind of nom de plume world record. I wonder if Ngakia has a goal bonus written into his £500 a week contract. Tish. He never said £500 a week. Never mind. We will come back to limericks in 1 second. Ryan Doozer says, PP going out on a win, fair play, but now bring in Danny Roll or another, and let's see the full potential of this young squad. Mr. Snow says, enjoyable, I thought, more so than under Tom. I don't disagree. I thought the second half of last season, there was some really difficult to watch football. There was the comparable thing was the fact that we'd only have one half of decent football in any one game if we were lucky, whereas today felt like, even though we went defensive, I still feel we were controlling that, and we were going what I'd said on Wednesday, which is I think we're turning into a team who will hit people on the break, and therefore if you sit back and you sit back and you sit back, and boy oh boy did we nearly. I mean, Rocco Vata has had a good couple of last performances for Watford. But if he can keep that ball down and hit the target, we could have been a lot more comfortable. Absolutely. Michael Silsell, I started listening in late. What's the rumours? You've probably heard it now. The rumour is, if you are just listening to this at this moment in time, that we believe that Paulo Pezzolano has managed his last game for Watford, and we will be looking to hear what comes out to verify that. However, as stated time and time again, this is just a rumor. This is not a confirmation, but this is like going onto Twitter or wherever and hearing somebody saying, well, this is what I've heard. Wait to find out what officially happens, but we share it with you. In windy Cornwall, says Tom. Hey, Tom. He said, so missed the game. Good to get 3 points, but hate this manager. Glad if the rumors are true. He said, Gerrard, Carrick, Roll. Those 3 would be my top pick. Michael Carrick. Well, you people are looking at Rob Edwards and saying he's doing what Carrick should have done, and that Carrick had a lot of time to do stuff. Gerrard, that would be an interesting one. Did obviously very well at Rangers in his first spell. Villa, Etihad, not sure. Would we be bringing in somebody because of his reputation and the way he played as a player? Or people could say the same thing about Lampard, and he seems to be ripping it up at Coventry currently, so maybe an answer. And Danny Roll, of course, who has been out of work since leaving Sheffield Wednesday, but was much coveted and was very close to going back to Southampton, where he was an assistant and getting the gig there. Very, very highly regarded indeed. So 3 good names there. Luke Alexander said, when did Uncle Ron get such a heart for head coaches? I know, but we can all agree. This is the point about sharing the opinions and all of that nonsense. On occasions, people will hear something and go, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. Don't get me wrong. 9 times out of 10, you won't. You'll still maybe keep your opinion, or somebody else will keep theirs. On occasions, that's good. That's good. It didn't stop him coming out with some fantastic AI tweets with Pezzolano's joggers being held up by Elton John. It was very, very funny. I have to say, I laughed at it. Stuart Howe says we need to give Paulo time. I appreciate no one agrees. I appreciate we haven't played anyone decent, but we are 3 points off the playoffs. Yeah, absolutely. Must admit, you got me all emotional, says Tom to Uncle Ron. There you go. You see, I told you there's some emotional growth on Do Not Scratch Your Eyes. That has never happened before, and certainly has nothing to do with me, Carl, or Justin. Snowball said, "Wow, come on here. Someone here are so two-faced. Many wanted him out and are now saying sorry. Make your minds up. It appears he has lost the dressing room. 7 out of 9 is good, but badly needed. No game for ASA Targu Morez today, but falling like a stone." Great podcast. Oh, that's very kind. Well, look, I've said and stick with it. He wasn't for me, and I appreciate that. We will also turn around and say, well, we don't want you to keep sacking managers. But as I've said time and time again now on Opposition View podcasts, because when you go on there, they'll go, have you sacked a manager again? Yeah. And I say, no. We're really good at sacking managers. We're rubbish at hiring them. This one is now the important one. It's for however we have got to where we are currently, we are sitting better in the table than we were a week ago yesterday, so to speak, Friday week, when we'd lost 2 games, 1-0, with performances that were as limp as you could possibly hate to see. Is it possible to recruit a manager inside of 1 week? I doubt it. I imagine the ball will have started rolling fairly soon thereafter, with the klaxons going off. Even if somebody's in, kind of not in work and therefore is readily available, you're still going to be getting into contractual conversations. You're still going to be getting into kind of working out who we definitely going to go for, and have it. So I would imagine the die was probably cast there, and therefore maybe the last week there may have been a change in dynamic. I don't know. At the end of the day, Ivic, I can't remember what his last. Yes, I can remember his last game. It was against Huddersfield, and we lost it 2-0. It was pitiful. Sanino, can't remember what his last game was. We had Billy McKinley. He won 2-1 against Brentford. Fantastic goal from Vidra. He went. We brought in Jokanovic. Jokanovic didn't start well, did get time, and did turn it around. There is a difference there. My point is, at the end of the season now, we look back and see where we are, and we'll find out whether or not the decisions made by the management are for good or for bad. They see extensively more than we do. When we did Parlaci Gino, and I appreciate we keep banging on this, but it was the best opportunity for us to see, kind of like opening it up and having a look at the workings going on inside of Watford Football Club. It is the fact that it's their opportunity to they said, look, we don't micromanage, and then on the next stage they turned around and said, but we liked his coaching, we looked at his coaching, we see what's going on, and that was about Rob Edwards in that particular instance, because it was a couple of years ago. But they get to see everything, and they will be making the decision as to whether or not the gentleman who is still currently, I presume, sitting in the hot seat, because I'm sure everybody would have told me if it had changed since, is he the man who's going to be able to get the maximum out of this squad? And Gino will, and he was asked on that day, and I appreciate I've said this a lot in the last week, and was asked if we got X amount of points from X amount of games, and it was like something like 15 games out, 14 points out of 10 games, which is where Rob Edwards was, I think, something like that. Would you change it? And he said, he simply came out and said, yeah. If I think I can do something for the betterment of Watford, I will not hesitate to do so. And it was like a lot of the things at Parlaci, which was, we asked, and there was no kind of, no, we think we've got this wrong. There was no level of introspection, which is a great word that Mike from Mike from the Rookery end said, you know, I can't see that there's any introspection. They went, no, we're convinced that we're just a head coach away from getting this right. There's many things that are right. There's one thing that's wrong, and we still haven't got it. That was 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago now. We still haven't got it right, seemingly. We have to hope that the next one is the best and the right one, the right thing, ideally. So look, that is the rumor. That is where we sit tonight. We will wait and see what comes out. If it fails to do so, don't worry. We will be making Peter Remnant dolls available. They will be fat but cheap, which is really my hallmark, and you'll be able to stick pins in them. You know, there you go. But we thought, you know, when you find these things out on occasions, you go, I'm not sure about that. On other occasions, you hear enough of it that you do something. We did something about it the other January when we said, look, this is what we've heard, and a lot of people reacted to it and sent emails into the club, and you know that was hugely appreciated. Did it work out well for everybody? No, not really, because Tom's down in Plymouth and we are where we are. However, you think, maybe we should share this. That's what seems to be out there. We will wait and see. Thank you as ever for being with us. If anybody lives in the Exeter area, the girls, the women, are on a 17-match unbeaten run currently and are playing down at Exeter City tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock. I won't be able to go, I'm afraid. However, I will be releasing, hopefully, because of well, depending on managers' news, the podcast that I did with Mark Rose and Mark Hancock, where we went over the first 2 months of the season for which is a lot of fun, and we'll put that out for something for you to listen to. Also during the international break, there will be something where Justin and I spoke to somebody who's in the Guinness Book of Records about going and seeing grounds. And it was good fun. It was a long time ago, but that will be out this week as well. So there'll be a sorted nonsense, plus no doubt, news from Vicarage Road to go over. Anyway, thank you as ever for sticking with us, and I hope you have an enjoyable Saturday evening. Thank you, Paolo. Cheerio. You Orns.